think of what you've seen tonight?
It's disgusting, all right? This is part of our priceless national heritage. These birds are a fundamental part of wildlife, and you've got people ripping them out of the wild, bringing them down to whoever it is that might be after them for sums of money. It's greed that motivates this trade, but the really worrying thing is the fact that these birds are, if you like, being legitimised or quasi-legitimised by the putting of these official government rings. And that's something I wish the government, through its Department of the Environment, would look at far more closely. It's all too easy to do this at the moment.
So what are you going to do now with the birds?
I think it's fundamentally important to get these birds back to the wild. This is where they belong. They're a part of the British heritage. So hopefully we will be able to successfully reintroduce the smaller of the two birds into a wild nest in Scotland, which is where it's come from. And hopefully it will be fostered by wild adults who will think it's another one of their chicks. That's the aim. It's worked in the past, and hopefully it will work this time.
They've got rings on them. What does that tell you?
Well, the rings are officially issued government rings. Now, if they've been forced onto wild birds, there's a fraudulent use of these rings anyway. But the whole point of those rings is that it allows the birds to be legitimised. In other words, it makes it much easier for people to possess them and to sell them. Now, that's something that we've been urging the government to look at far more closely for many years. This is actual proof that it's going on.
Tomorrow we might be taking delivery of more birds. Do you think we'll be able to replace all of them back into the wild?
Well, I very much hope that you will be able to replace all the birds back in the wild. If I could urge you to try and get all wild peregrines that have been taken this year, and it seems that there have been many, it looks as if it's been a rather bad year for peregrines. If you could get them all to us, we would do our utmost to return them to the wild successfully. Look at it from the conservation perspective. Britain holds about 1/3 of all the peregrines in Western Europe, and is a globally endangered species. It's the highest category of protection in the world. We've got a real responsibility to conserve these, and I get so angry when people put these birds or put money before the conservation of these birds. It's a very, very irritating thing to have to witness indeed.
Where do you think Mr. Martello got these birds from with these rings on them?
That's something I think requires far closer investigation. Mr. Martello is obviously contacts. Mr. Martello seems to be the kind of guy who can fix these things to happen. People have taken these birds from the wild, have acquired, how, I don't know, but have acquired these official government rings and have put them on the birds themselves. Now that's something which would merit far closer investigation.
What sort of penalty does Mr. Martello expect for having done something like this?
Well, the Wildlife and Countryside Act allows for financial penalties. It allows a fine of up to £5,000 per bird to be imposed. But we know that the birds may fetch £1,000 even more each. And I think, unfortunately, that many of these people will build that into their cost structures. Perhaps it's time to look more closely at the penalties that are available to the courts for these very important, serious conservation crimes.
Briefly, could you just summarise what you feel about what's happened tonight?
I feel knotted up inside. I mean, I have to, in the course of my job, witness an awful lot of very disgusting things happening to birds. But when you see a priceless piece of our heritage being carted about the country like any other kind of commodity, then I get very, very sad actually. I think I've passed the stage of worrying too much about it. It just saddens me now. And I just hope that we can return this particular bird back to the wild successfully, and any other that you might be able to acquire over the course of the next few days.
Any other questions from you, Peter?
It's on to your eyes, but on the side from here, and I'll tell you right. Ask Chris. Gone undercover for why?
Chris, why have you done what you've done tonight and everything else?
I've gone and done this job for you because I have a strong feeling about birds being taken from the wild. Why should they be taken from the wild when there's ample birds bred in captivity to satisfy the needs of all falconers in the UK?
How sort of widespread do you think this kind of thing is?
Even more widespread than it's more widespread than I thought it was. You know, I didn't realise that someone would go and steal birds virtually to an order.
What type of person is Mr. Marcello?
Well, I don't think there's a door low enough for him to crawl under.
How well connected is he?
Very well connected. There's connections throughout the UK and Europe.
How do you think he acquired these birds?
From what he told me when I collected the birds from him this evening, that they've been taken from a wild peregrine diary in Scotland. They have been legalised by the person that took them, and they'd obviously been run by the DOE person that came along to ring the legitimate birds that this person had, but also didn't realise that he was ringing illegal birds as well. Ask a question, I'll answer it.
Has Marcello given you any indication of how heavily involved in all this he is, or is thinking about getting?
I think he's always been heavily involved. Always.
What in terms of?
All right,
Right,
here's a
okay,
prompt
yeah,
again.
okay.
He obviously likes telling you how efficient he is in this game. What sort of tidbits have you been able to pick up?
Well, I don't think he was terribly efficient this year. I don't think he got there soon enough to get the birds this year. From what I gather, other people had the eggs and the small youngsters to take and ring, and they were laundered, if you might say that, through the UK network.
When we first spoke to Marcello, he said he hadn't been in this game for 15 years. What do you think?
I think he's a liar.
Why?
Okay, good.
What sort of things has Marcello been telling you that he's doing now?
Well, he's collecting birds in Scotland. He went to get some, and he got there a bit too late this year, and they've been all gone to other people. The eggs have gone earlier on. The youngsters have gone to other people that have run them. We've got the DOE to legitimise them through their birds. He tells me that the gamekeepers have promised him all the birds next year, all the eggs and all the birds. So there's another few birds that we're going to lose again. And this is going on and on and on. It goes from Marcello to another person or from somebody else to the other network in the UK, and it spreads right out through the UK. Then what happens to sometimes the eggs? They go to Germany. They're swapped for goshawks. The goshawks are smuggled in to people that are breeding goshawks, and then they're legitimised. It's just a complete whole network of crooks doing this throughout the UK and Germany.
You've had a very brief chance to have a look at these birds. What can you tell?
One, I would say, is able to be put back into the wild because it's a wild, fluffy youngster. The large one is going to be difficult because we're going to have to hack it back. If we got the larger bird now and went put it in the Highlands or anywhere that the peregrines live, I don't think it would survive. So what's going to happen to that bird? We have got to train it and hack it back to the wild. This is going to go over 2 or 3 months. When we're happy, the bird will be returned to the wild where it should be.